Hello, Kennedale. This is Jeff Nevarez with Kennedale News Video Edition, and this is a special edition indeed. We've been doing a series with all the candidates in each for the city and the KISD district. But first, a word from our sponsor. The Kennedale Rotary Club has allowed us the use of the Zoom, and we appreciate that for that extra time so we can ask the important questions to our candidates. They're the ones that do the flag program every year, and those are the flags that you see out front of people's houses right around the national holidays. And I just want to give them a shout out. It's $50 a year. This money does go to students. We use it for scholarship money, in which the first, second, and third places of our Rotary District debate get a certain money for their colleges. And we also allow these students, the seniors mainly, to go out and deliver these flags for us. And in exchange, we give them money. And this is a fundraiser for their prom. So make sure you go to KennedaleRotaryClub.com. Scroll down just a little bit. You'll see this little button right here. Click and go ahead and sign up, and we'll get you guys all set up for next year. Now, I appreciate everybody for showing up for this coffee chat. This is Felicia Moody and John Hunt. How you guys doing today?
We're good, thank you.
All right, and they are going for KISD Place 7. And I just want to tell you guys how excited I am for this one. Like I already did Bailey and Daryl the other day, but both of them, that was a vacated seat, and both of them were kind of new to doing the process. Where in this instance, I have John, who's an incumbent, a longtime incumbent, and I have Felicia, who's not new to this district and trying to run for election. So it's kind of exciting. Like your questions, I can just tell this is kind of gonna be like the next level. So, but I thank you both for giving me your time, and we'll make sure we get this out, ASAP for you guys, so we can get in front of your electors. So just to put the rules out there so everybody understands, this is just a coffee chat. It's not a debate. We're not going to time anything. If your answer is yes, the answer is yes. If the answer takes 5 minutes, a lot of adjectives, then so be it. It takes a lot of adjectives. This is also a discussion. You guys can rebuttal back to each other when you're done. And I'll say it again, like I said it with the KISD Place 6. I'm sure we can have a vice presidential debate instead of a presidential debate, and I have the utmost confidence in both of you for that. So each candidate submitted to me 3 questions. I shared those 3 questions with each candidate, so they both had time to prepare if they wanted to. And then I submitted to them 1 question, but I've surprised them today with 2 more. One of them was a submittal through an email by a Kennedale News reader. And one was just a topic that we had hit the other day with Bailey and Daryl. So the candidates are aware of these questions, and we'll go ahead and begin. You guys ready?
Yes.
Sure. All right. I'm so excited. All right. So the first question I'll do with one of mine, which is the playgrounds. So we had a discussion the other day about the playgrounds, and we were talking about how Patterson had just got brand new playgrounds, and they fundraised, and the Education Foundation helped with that. And I'm on the advisory board for Delaney, and that was an issue with them too, that the extensive bill just to rip out their playground. And to my surprise, I didn't realize that the district had control over the playgrounds, that the actual schools have to fundraise and do this. So I guess my question to you is how, if you know how that happened, I would love to know, why is it the responsibility of the schools? Why is it not the responsibility of the district? And is there something that the district can do or change or help in this? And since I'm going to John first with your question, Felicia, I'll go to Felicia first on this one.
All right. So the question, from my understanding, is why did the schools have to fund the playground as opposed to the district?
If you know the answer, yes. Otherwise, it would be, what can we do to fix this, I guess, or help them?
Well, that was my question as well. I've been in schools where if you want to expand and add to the playground, then that's a fundraising project that it takes years to save money for. And with the Kaboom the Kaboom project, they bring in volunteers, they bring in the support, they help set everything up, and you organize it that way. It was my understanding that that's just not something that our district does to support the playgrounds. It's an outside entity. I don't know why that's not a part of the district's facilities upkeep. It, to me, would be just like the football field or the track field or the facilities inside of the school. So that would be a great question for Mr. Hunt. When I was approached about it, that was just when the COVID was coming about, and taking off work to help volunteer to paint and put the matting down for the students to be able to be safe. I don't know. I do know that there are playgrounds where if you want the covering, then that would be PTO, PTA, their responsibility. But the actual equipment, in my opinion, that should have been a district responsibility.
So I guess to follow up, and I'll let John explain, but just to follow up and give you a little bit more chance with that, if you were elected, was that something you'd be willing to champion or look into?
Oh, yes. I would be a part of that. I would vote for that, because students need to go outside. They need to run around. They need to know that it's safe. Now, the Kaboom playground, I've had experience with their playgrounds before. They're top notch. They're safe. That's great. But it shouldn't be the responsibility of the school's fundraising partnership volunteers to raise the money for that. It's a part of the school. It's a part of the district. It's on district property. It's not like they said, okay, we're going to build a playground next to Patterson, or we're going to build a playground next to Delaney. It's the school, it's the residents. We pay taxes. Yeah. So our tax dollars should go towards everything that's involved with Kennedale ISD.
Okay. And John, again, you have a living memory. Maybe you know
right.
why or the reasons why. So please enlighten everybody on that and have some solutions.
I don't think the question is framed correctly, Jeff. I mean, there is no why. The Kaboom playground cost the district significant amounts of money. Mm-hmm. So the district did pay for the playground. Yes, Kaboom matched funds that were donated. We did raise funds, but lots of things are donated like that. There's,
sure.
Improvements to athletic equipment, concession stand equipment, lots of things like that. The organizations raise money for to improve the experience of our kids. But definitely the maintenance of the playground is done by the school, and it is the school's playground. Delaney is a little awkward because of the way that parking lot's configured. Yeah. And, when we did the roofing, we just went through putting all those roofs on, spending a significant amount of money to get those roofs repaired during our litigation. That was one of the things that we considered was, cutting through access through there and changing that playground configuration. Because, if you know anything about that Delaney playground, you know that the wood chips run, and it kind of creates a crazy situation down there because that huge drainage area is right there around the corner from the playground. And so we considered doing something with that, but the fact that a organization donated some materials and we donated some time doesn't mean that the district didn't have any expense or doesn't have any responsibility in the playground. That's definitely the district doing that playground. The reason that came up the way it did is that, the funding for that came up, it wasn't submitted through channels to get the funding, and so, or to get the grant. And so it appears more that it was funded directly from them, and that's the way it initially came up. But normally, if you want to do a grant, you would submit that to your campus leadership. Your campus leadership did submit that to the administration that you had this grant, and then they would approve it. It would all go through the district. But in the end, it was the district that paid all. There were legal expenses, and because when you do something like that, you have to protect yourself from liability from the organization.
Sure.
And some research on that.
Trust me, I know all the details.
It was some significant expense to the district to put that playground in that wasn't accounted for. And that's just the budgeting process. If it's in the budget to put a new playground at Delaney, then we would put a new playground at Delaney. But that would be, that'd be something that could be done, certainly. Or, if it was in the budget to put the Kaboom playground at Patterson, we would have done that as well. Or, the intermediate school. We just went through, we added on, we had some money left in the roofing budget, and so we were able to completely insulate that gym down there at J. Arthur.
Good.
that was really good.
Yeah,
Now
I needed it.
now that's a building that we can use year round, which we haven't been able to use. So no, I don't want to parse with the wording, but it's not that, you know, the district didn't refuse to fund that. It was just
Sure.
that the teacher sought out that grant and it was submitted that way. And then, you know, once it was down the road, the district stepped in and basically took over all of the logistics of getting that playground done.
So in Delaney's case, and you kind of mentioned that, you know, the maintenance would be responsibility of school.
Right.
And I don't know how the dynamics, I don't know if you just guys give out a cut to each school from the taxes, but so they got, you were talking about the little pieces of wood underneath the playground washout. And I know how much that costs being on the Parks Board and what we spend every year. We've also looked into doing the padding, just like what Patterson has.
Right.
And the bill that was submitted to Delaney was like $80,000. So
Right.
is that really a maintenance thing, or should the district kind of?
Well, the problem with Delaney, like I said, is that drainage.
Yeah, the drainage.
There's that huge grading that's right there that catches all the water from that whole backside that runs off that hill. And so it ties up what you can do as far as letting that water penetrate down through the playground. So you couldn't rubberize the footing on it, because then the water runoff would be increased, where it would run back into the school right there behind it and into the side of that gym. And so, and there's a huge drainage pipe. I know you're aware of this, but right there where you exit to come to the playground by the gym, there's a huge drainage pipe runoff off the roof right there.
Yep.
You know, it's just, it's one of those things that, you know how Delaney has kind of sprawled. You've been here long enough to see how it kind of sprawled when it was built. And the way it sprawled, it ended up that drainage pipe was coming off the roof there, because you know, Delaney's roof was just that roof. It's really, you know, there's like 10 different roof systems that you have to integrate as you're doing the roof. It's not just put a new roof on the building. It's basically 10 different roofs that you have to integrate how you're going to make that drainage all work together. And it's unfortunate, but like I say, with the PK coming up, you know, we looked at that but we just couldn't see spending that money. It was a significant amount of money, and with us already outlaying, you know, $2.9 million for roofs, you know, you look at that money that we're already spending on facilities that we just couldn't do at this time. We really wanted to, because, you know, we wanted to make it to where there was a drive that went all the way around Delaney. Wouldn't that be nice if you could drive through all the way around Delaney rather than the way we do now? But,
yeah, I've been there.
So let me get this clarified, so we'll know, and not just for me, but for the rest of Kennedale ISD residents and the Arlington residents who send their students to Kennedale ISD. Because it was kaboom, is why that the initial part of the planning took place from the grant that you mentioned. Had it been, and the conversation went to Delaney as opposed to Patterson, had it been, we're starting to make plans for a playground upgrade at Patterson. We realized that that's something that we need to do for the school. That would have been a 3-year process, 4-year process to get the funds together. It was because it wasn't presented that this is something that needs to happen. So now here's Delaney. We want a new playground over here. We need to set the funds. Where you said in the beginning that it was the way it was presented, or by the time it was presented, it just wasn't feasible. So what would that process be?
Well, you know, typically this one, the teacher that submitted for the grant, which I applaud the initiative, and that's one of the great things about Kennedale is all of our teachers are self-starters and have high initiative and do things on their own, but got the grant in a position without going to campus leadership even first. And so by the time it was outside the channels, then we were playing catch up as a district to try and catch up and support that project. Of course, we'd support a grant that's going to pay for a playground at Delaney, but in the end, you know, one of the things that I discovered that I was a little disappointed, because we were scurrilized or the district was a little scurrilized for not going ahead and putting that playground in ourselves, we're happy to put a playground in. And we would be happy to use the Kaboom grant to do that. But the unfortunate truth of it is that where it was at that point in time, we had to spend a lot of money to do that, and that wasn't budgeted. And so, had that been put in the budget process, that could take place inside a month, depending on where you are in the calendar year.
Sure.
That you could put it in the, if you get it into the budget process in June, or at the end of school year, we could have that done over the summer.
And to be fair, you guys have been updating.
I mean, Kaboom they're beautiful playgrounds,
Right.
but they are expensive. So that's why I just wanted to know,
Right.
Had it been done like this, it would have been no problem. It would have been approved. You put the
Absolutely.
paperwork in June,
Absolutely.
and then the
we
board.
would never,
So
we would never hold
that's
back
good.
someone from if you
That's
got a grant to do something, just like the
Free money?
Education Foundation doing, we're not gonna, great, let's have a great playground. Let's have the best playground in the state if we can. And, that's why, when they did that, we said, hey, let's see if we can't do something about Delaney's, and that's been a sore thumb for a long time, that we've tried to do a lot of things, but that drainage issue, and because of the parking and because of that drive around the back and the separation from the field on the top, it's just a really, really difficult location to figure out how you can do that, because we even thought about putting something up on top of the hill, but then you got to walk those kids up to the hill. Yep. And do something up there, and when we talked to the staff at Delaney, they just didn't relish the thought of taking 4 classes of kindergartners up to the top of the hill for the playground time and coming back down and all of that kind of thing. So we didn't pursue that yet, but we're obviously open if someone has a grant or some great idea of how we can do that. But the error at Patterson was that grant should have been submitted to the campus leadership, and then the campus leadership would decide for their campus, this is a great idea, this is a great grant, and then they would submit it to the administration, and then the administration would take the ball, and we would have our maintenance people involved and organize whatever help we need. But it was great that the community turned out to support that like they did.
Yes, they did.
Yeah,
It was.
That's what Kennedale.
They now have a fresh, new, vibrant playground to
I
play.
agree. In the end, we're all happy for that.
Yes, we are.
And before I move on to the next question, I just want to put also that you guys have been updating every school this past year, and you've been,
Right.
and that was an initiative that was a long time coming, like the football fields at the junior high, the siding over at Arthur, like that. So, and the roofs look amazing. So, so, and like I just wanted to put that out there that you guys have been focused. What you're saying is that at this time, this is what the focus is. Maybe next time.
Eileen is fantastic. She's brought a lot of fresh life into the facilities department, and you can't go anywhere in the district without seeing how that so many little nagging eyesores have been addressed and fixed, and it's refreshing because she brings a lot of energy to it, and I'm awfully proud of her stepping up and taking on that mantle.
Thanks for clarifying that for us, John. I knew it would get some clarification on that. So let's move on. This is a Felicia question, and so that would start with you, John. What decision has the board made that you're proud of? And I like that you started off with that, Felicia, by the way, a nice positive question.
Okay. It's hard. There's lots of things that I'm proud of with the district, and but as far as board decisions, there's very little the board, really puts in place. Primarily as a board member, I rely on the district and the district personnel to submit things to us in the agenda, and then we approve or disapprove or discuss them and revise them and then approve it. But as far as board action, what I'm proud of, one thing is that we have consistently held or lowered our tax rate.
Which you just did last month.
I know that taxes have gone up, but that's property values. That's not us. We've been consistently lowering the tax rate, and I'm proud that we've been able to do that. And at the same time, we've been able to maintain our teachers' annual raises, and also, this is the fun time of the year. It's coming up on it. is when we give our annual bonuses. It's $500 across the board to every employee, no matter what you are. That's always really fun when you see, you know, the para or someone who's living on, you know, $20,000 a year. When they get that $500 check, that's a lifesaver for some of them.
Yeah,
And
send me one.
It's really, really. I'm proud that we do that, and honored to get to hand those out at the middle of the year, right before Christmas. And my admonition every year to the teachers, and it'll be again this year. That's your money. That's Madden money. Don't go spend it on bills. Go spend it on yourself. You know, have a
Cruises are really cheap right now.
Well, because they're teachers and because they're educators, it's going to be the teachers and educators. They're going to put it in their classrooms. They're going to buy supplies for their students. It's going to be pencils and pens and colored stickers and all the things. If I just had one more dollar, what I would get from my students. So very good.
Sure. I know I tell, for example, Cassie, who's a first grader, I tell her teacher, Ms. Varner, if you have to pay for it, reply back to all the parents first. Let us give the chance to do it. And if not, I have Rotary clubs right behind me that would gladly help. So I tell that I'm going to put that out there for all parents. Tell your teacher, if you have a need, water, whatever, just send it out to your room mom or whatever. Let the parents give them a chance to pay for something for you. I know a lot of people around here will be happy to do it. So the question, though, which is, Felicia, you're not on the board, but what are you most proud of that the board has accomplished?
Well, actually, Mr. Hunt had two, so I'm going to take two.
Okay.
The first one is I really enjoy how they give the principals the opportunity to showcase their campuses. I'm sure the principals probably wish that sometimes they could miss a meeting or do something else with their time, but that's refreshing. It's good to see them get up and brag on the good things that's going on their campuses. And everybody has the same amount of time. Usually the high school principal takes a little bit longer, but it's a good thing because he's talking about the positive things that are happening in the school system. So I'm very, very happy with that. Very proud of the way that, like I said, that they honor and recognize the campus administrator, giving them that time to shine and showcase what's going on their campuses. The second thing is the one-to-one devices. And especially now, it's critical. So the fact that we were really ahead of the game as far as the one-to-one devices go, I think that was a very strategic move. It's helped making sure that, especially when we went out in March and didn't know that we weren't going to be back, the kids were able to access instruction, access their teachers, and continue with some level of normal as far as education goes.
Yes. And as a parent, I want to thank you all for that too. It was a big deal yes, I'm a computer guy. I have computers all around this room right here. Just I have plenty. So it wasn't that big deal. We even gave out some friends for coworkers, things like that. But for them to each have a device, now that my first grader has one, it does make it a lot easier. Because to me, and even for me, it is a learning curve trying to help my first grader. So she's learning that learning curve now for second, third, fifth, ninth, all the way up. And so I'm happy that the superintendent and John and the board got the 1-for-1.
Hey, and I want to go back to my initial point on that yes, we approve that, but that's the campus and district leadership. They brought that to us, and we were glad to approve that. But that was their initiative. Not necessarily a board initiative, but one we wholeheartedly agreed with.
Exactly.
But that's one that they brought to us. So give them the credit, pat them on the back for that.
Yeah, I know that was high on Chad's list for sure, talking to him over the first couple months of that. All right, so next question. This is a John question to you, Felicia. How do you currently serve and support the district?
I love this question. I was so glad that he came up with this question because a lot of people think that supporting the district means that you serve on this board, you're on this committee, you're on that. And I'm going to bring it down to the fundamental. I'm a parent. Mm-hmm. I chose to live in Kennedale ISD, and I choose to send my students, my children, through Kennedale ISD. My husband and I had the opportunity to move. We could have put our children wherever, but we chose to come to Kennedale, and we chose to come to Kennedale ISD. So the first thing is I support the district by being a parent. With that being said, we are parents who support the district by making sure that our students abide by the policies and procedures put forth by the district. If we have a problem with something, we don't have a problem saying, look, this was not right. This is what I need you to do. But we also expect our children to abide by the rules and regulations that we've set forth in our house. So when you send your children to school, you support the district when your children do what needs to be done while they're there. They're getting their homework in, they're listening to the teacher. If we're walking on the right side of the hallway, we're all walking on the right side of the hallway. That's just the fundamental part of supporting your school district. I also support the district with my taxes. And we pay, Mr. Hunt said that they've gone down, but we pay quite a bit. So we
the majority of it, really.
Make sure that they are turned in on time, and that we, our funds, we expect them to be utilized in the best interest of the students.
It's funny that you said the right side of the hallway. That was the first thing my junior hire was complaining about. I was like, oh, just do it.
Yes, but it makes a difference. Things that you learned in pre-K follow you all the way up through life. So that's the second way that I support the district. And then the traditional way that most people think of, oh, what are you doing in Kennedale? How do you support? I've served on boards. I've served on PTO. I've helped the PTA become a PTO so they could get more things done. I've worked with with Dr. Ashley's how I call her, with the Gifted and Talented Advisory Committee. We support the band. We support the football team. We support the different activities that the kids have. So this, most importantly right now, I support by being a part of the political system. I'm not one to just sit back and say, they're not doing this, we could be doing that. No, get involved, whether you're the president on the board or you're a citizen of the district, get involved. And I'm a representative of a regular person being involved to make change in Kennedale.
Okay, John?
How do I support that? How have I served?
Yeah, that was your question.
Well, I pay taxes too, unfortunately, and it's way too much.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think we can all agree on that.
As much as I brag about lowering the tax rate, it's still too much taxes. But of course, I've been president of Booster Club, PTOs, Band Booster Club, all of the general ways, and been on the CTE committee and the Education Foundation and done all those things. For me, when I became a board member, it's kind of like in a church when you elect elders. To me, that the reason I said yes so soon when I came here is because the crucible for me with an elder in a church is, does he smell like sheep? You don't want a shepherd that doesn't smell like sheep. If he's not in there with the flock, hanging out with the sheep, then you wouldn't want him. And for me, when my kids were in school, I was on 4 campuses, almost felt like 24/7. Doing one thing or another, and bought lots of boxes of chocolate over the years. We were real big on our kids that they had to complete the fundraisers, but we didn't let them go knock doors. We would just say, what's the buyout? And so we had lots of boxes of greatest American chocolate sitting around the house all the time. But that's just like Felicia, and I know that she served on our shack and done some things like that for us. So I think that it's important before becoming a board member to be a person who smells like sheep or smells like Kennedale ISD, because you're around Kennedale ISD.
I think you missed one point about yourself, which is you're the incumbent. And how long have you served currently?
This is my 11th year on the board. I stepped off the board when my wife decided to interview here for 6 months, and then had to run for re-election. And so, short 6 months, 11 years I've been on the board, which is gives you some perspective. Let me say that it gives me a unique perspective. Longest serving board member now. So.
And I always say this, I believe I even talked to on the mayor's interview yesterday, that it just takes so long in governments and bureaucracy to do things. And I've always been against like limiting, a city council only can serve 2 terms like Arlington's doing right now, because it just takes so long to even accomplish things. And so there's something to say about stability on a board, even though there's other ones that swing over. And at the same time, I've always said too that serving on boards or lower boards are just a springboard because of the learning curve. Would I vote for somebody who's never done anything before? Sure. If I thought they were a great candidate, but to me, that learning curve, as somebody who's been doing it for the city for just around a decade now, that there's a huge learning curve, and you can even see in our current races on the state and the federal level that there's several board members or school district charter members, I think is what they call them sometimes, that are running for these Congress or state.
Right.
So, and it's not that they're seeking, fortune or fame by going up. It's that learning curve. And now you're on top of that. You think you can do better. You think you can do better, and hopefully we get somebody who's just amazing as a congresswoman, man or woman, one day.
Like Senator Powell, it's really neat talking with her because she was on the school board down in Burleson, and so she shares lots of the same experiences in history. And Burleson, their growth pattern is very similar to Kennedale's, and so we went through a lot of the same things. That they've grown larger than we are, but it's really fun to sit down and talk with her from my perspective, and you feel like she really relates to you as a school board member because she served as a school board member for a good amount of time down there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's also important, like I said, that if you haven't served Kennedale residents in a position, you're still qualified to serve.
Sure, absolutely.
So make sure, this is my second time to run. I'm glad to run because I know that I have a lot to offer. But don't let the fact that you haven't participated as the president of the PTO, or that you haven't participated in another position, that you're not qualified to run. I know that I'm qualified to run.
Sure.
Have I been on the board for 10 years? No. But I do have the experience in education to know that I'll be a qualified school board member.
Absolutely. If you're an expert in whatever and you want to step up a grade, then please, by all means. But
yes.
The main thing is getting involved. There hasn't a person I've never met that doesn't think that you're not qualified, Felicia, even last season. So I know the debates last year, everybody was really shocked at your performance. So let's move on to the next question, which is a Felicia question to John. What are 2 or 3 challenges the district faces, and how do you plan on taking care of it?
Well, obviously the immediate concern or challenge is the COVID that we're going through, and the virus, and because there's not much guidance on it, and whose guidance do you follow? You can't win because CDC, TEA, NEA, governor, the Tarrant County Health, they all give out, and it's fairly similar, but there'll be nuances in it, like whether or not they expect elementary children to wear a mask all day long. And it's very difficult. Of course, we adopted pretty much the governor's guidance, and what do you do? You want to make every child and every teacher, every staff member completely safe, but in reality we can't. all we can do is do our very best to mitigate the risks that anybody would be exposed to. The other things that, you know, we talked some about is the aging facilities. You know, we do have some, you know, facilities, some now are starting to catch up and need repairs, and we're addressing those as we go. Eileen is a breath of fresh air for that. And then this is one that, the last one, which is really something that really concerns me, is that, you know, 5 years ago, the #1 recruiting tool for teachers was other teachers. Other teachers would go out and encourage their children or friends to go into education. And now, I think it's less than 30% of teachers would encourage another teacher to go into teaching. You know, a child or someone like that to go into teaching. I'm proud of my son that he did go into education, but it's a hard row to hoe. And so, you know, we've done a lot of things that I was surprised, and I guess I shouldn't have been surprised. I should have known, but we didn't go to the job fairs and college fairs to recruit teachers until Chad came, and now we do that. You know, we're going to colleges, and we're trying to actively recruit student teachers and do that type of thing, because we recognize that, you know, teachers aren't recruiting like they used to. You know, we do pay well for a district of our size, and that works pretty well. But you know, teaching it's a calling. It's not a career choice, in my opinion. And so we want to find the teachers, the educators who are called to be in this field. And to do that, you have to expand your vision a little bit. So, you know, now we're actively going to job fairs and college recruitment fairs and working to recruit teachers that way as well.
And I've done a lot of interviews with Chad over the last couple of months. I'm sure you guys seen it. If you haven't, go to youtube.com/Kennedale News. And and I could see, you know, how tiring it was for him, first of all, but some of his frustrations with having to deal with Tarrant County Health versus, you know, the state government versus TEA, which is probably the worst one of all of them, actually, the one that's been the hardest on you guys. And I think that's been a huge challenge. And as Brian and I kind of talked about this yesterday, again, there's too many cooks in the kitchen, and they're all pointing at each other. And that's been the issue. And then on the other side, I can relate with the struggle it is teacher. I have several friends who just finished college to try to do a career in teaching, and it's just been difficult for them to pass that teacher certificates. It's really difficult in the state right now, and that's a huge hurdle in itself, and a necessary one, of course. But I know for me, I was always told, hey, you'd be a great teacher. You know, you can go in administration. You should do this. You should do that. But my biggest fear was being a male teacher or a principal in the environment. And it stems for when I went back to school at UTA, I was doing a night class for math. And one of the girls said, well, I'm getting a D. If I'm going to go to the professor and say, give me a B, or I'm going to say that you were having sex with me. And I was like, what? And I was like, well, I will never be a teacher. And that scared me away from it. So definitely, I would agree with it's a calling. You have to be willing to do it. But Felicia, I'll go ahead and give you a chance to answer that question. 2 or 3 challenges the district faces, and how do you plan to fix it?
Well, one challenge that the district faces is public relations, and making sure that we, as the district, have our best foot forward, that we stay out of the newspaper unless it's positive. So marketing, that's why I said it's great that the principals get to market what the positive things that occur, because public relations is huge. Parents have choices where to send their children. We chose to send our children to Kennedale ISD. I have one that has graduated from college, and I have one that's currently in Kennedale ISD right now. I'm sorry, hold on just one moment.
Okay.
No, just unplug it. Take the whole thing out of the wall. Thank you. Technical, I thought it would be my computer to go out. So public relations is huge. How the public perceives you, how they perceive that your education system is, how they perceive your programs to be, put forth for their students, how you represent yourself, be it teacher, student, parent, administrator, central administrator. Public relations is big. Transparency is large as well. I think that we could do better with marketing the positive things that occur in the district, but I also think that we could be transparent and let petitions that are going around the district, we shouldn't have to find out about that from Facebook. That should be, this is what happened, we're investigating it. We can't give you the details, but just know and be confident that we're addressing it. So I think that's huge. That goes to leadership. When we have staff members, administrators who one child gets one punishment, the other child gets the other punishment, and it's not consistent across the board, that's a problem. If we have people who, in my opinion, lash out, that's a problem as well. But that goes to leadership, that goes to public relations, and it also goes to accountability. Accountability, when you hear the word accountability, a lot of people go towards testing. Testing is a big part of the education system. We all know that. You get a ranking for your STAR scores, you get a ranking for your TELPOT scores, you get a ranking for how long your teachers stay in the district, you get a ranking if they leave too quick and they take their knowledge other places. So all of that goes into the accountability system, but it's also how are we accountable as leaders? How above closed doors, behind closed doors? How do we hold each other accountable for our actions? How do we hold each other accountable for the decisions that are made? Do we address them and let the chips fall where they may? Do we hide from them? That's not my style of leadership. I believe in this is where we are. This is what we need to, what we need to do to fix it. These are my suggestions. Mm-hmm. What are your suggestions? Kennedale has got a diverse population. These are all of things that we can address, but they need to be addressed.
So let me do a follow-up question, because this is actually what was brought up by Bailey. He brought up this concern too. For example, I've given the ISD their own login. They can post announcements. They have a new website that has all the scrolling advertisements. Even during this COVID process, I get almost daily emails between administrative on G side, but also the principals and also the teachers. So do you think that all that and everything they've been changing in the last 2 years to try to get the word out and things is not enough?
If one parent has a concern, no. Edgenuity is huge right now.
Yeah, they brought that up too. It's fine.
Oh yes, Edgenuity is huge. It's new, it's different, it's difficult. And clear expectations were not given from the very beginning. So we're fortunate to where, like you said, you've got computers in your home, you're savvy, Mr. Hunt is savvy, we're able to navigate the system. Everybody's not able to do that. Mm-hmm. So if everyone is not able to navigate that system, then more communication needs to occur with the system. I wasn't clear on what the expectations were when my son went back to in-person learning from virtual learning. I reached out to all of the teachers. I got responses from some of the teachers, which was fine because I still got a response. Mm-hmm. And when I didn't get the response that I needed, not necessarily the one that I wanted, but at least the one that I needed, I said, okay, look, these are my questions. Do I have to turn it in? Does he have to turn it in? When is it due? How is it graded? How much, what is the percent? Where do we stand with this? I don't feel like I should be chastised for asking those questions. Those are valid questions that I have about a system that my child is going to be ranked on. So all of the things that the district puts out, that's great. The junior high school had a great forum. They invited parents to attend the forum on Ingenuity. And I'm trying to find out how do I participate in this? How do I get my questions answered? I thought it was a district forum. Well, come to find out it was just for that school, which is fine it's just for that school. But if one person, 5 people, 50 people have a question, then I think that question should be addressed. And not, don't complain about it on Facebook. Let us know. Well, I'm going to ask you point blank. And then I can share, look, this is what happened. They didn't mean anything bad by it. This is what we're trying to do. And be that voice of, okay, we have to do Edgenuity. Money has been spent for this. Make sure, as I told the parents that I was talking with, check them both. Don't just check the portal. You have to check Edgenuity as well. Because in the beginning, it was just do one or the other. But no, you have to do them both. Those are the kinds of things that we need to know to better support whatever the decision is.
So before I let John a chance to respond, I just want to say I had a similar experience with the whole process, and I did go to the principal's meeting and him explaining it, and I did ask questions as well. And then when we got to the process, it was a little bit of a hiccup side, and putting aside the end of the last year, just this year's.
Yeah, this year. Last year was all new to everybody.
I mean, we'll just the district was fair. I'll just put it that way. But this year, where they're being a little bit more strict, I think the response, I got a different response. I got a good positive response from teachers. And also I think, and for my junior high's case, we make her respond to the teacher first. And then if she can't get anywhere, teacher come talk to us. But her response from the teachers, I think were positive and understanding. Like, oh, I didn't realize I didn't check in that day, or I didn't realize that there was a whole nother page over here.
Yes.
Same issues you went to. But I think the teachers were pretty understanding. But John, if you have something to say, I'll let you have the floor for a little bit for that response.
Well, I think any change is uncomfortable, and this is a lot of change in a short period of time. And the impetus, obviously, is to address the pandemic, and so there's so many moving parts that there's bound to be I hate saying communication breakdowns, because I know that there was a lot of communication. There's a lot of communication on every campus, but that doesn't mean that everybody hears it. So that's not really communication if it's not presented in a way that people can hear it. And so I would defend our people certainly on the ingenuity side of it. It is complicated, and I've got two educators living in my house with me, and there were detractions and positive things that they both had to say about it. So it's difficult to know, but I'm glad to hear, Jeff, that you were able to contact your teachers and get responses. That's the way it should be, and I think that's why, to me, that's the draw of Kennedale, is that we want to remain a district that that it's not such a big moving organization that you don't feel like you can pick up your phone and call your teachers. Because in most cases, when people have complained to the board about communication breakdowns and things like that, I'm always amazed to find when there's security risks or something like that. I'm always amazed or disappointed to hear that they didn't even attempt to pick up the phone and call the principal. Because I know these principals, and I know that if you had called, they would want to talk to you.
Absolutely.
And I think it's the same case now. Unfortunately, I think because it's so new to everybody, you may not get a great answer all the time, because they may not know. They may have to go search someplace else for the answer to your question, and to make sure that your child's needs are addressed specifically to whatever's going on.
That is true, but when you bring, we'll just stick with ingenuity. When you bring a concern, this goes back to public relations, how that concern is addressed or not,
right,
creates the challenge. Right. So my response to how I would handle that would be to address the concern and the way that it's marketed and relayed to the public. You have to be reflective before you speak, and know that social media is a major part of the world that we live in today. So yes, parents are on Twitter, they're on Instagram, they're on Facebook. I tried this, it didn't work. I tried that, it didn't work. I just need to vent. And being an educator, there are some times when I really want to say, you're just so wrong about that. But I know how to say, well, let's just think about it like this. Yes, Ingenuity is new. Yes, it has some positives, it has some negatives. Yes, the teachers are working through it. Yes, there are teachers who are using it in place of, if my child is in-person learner and I send them to school, this is not my concern. I send them to school, they're still sitting on the computer. Those are systems that can be addressed by having a town hall. That's something to me that could come from the board, that could come from the superintendent. Look, we know Ingenuity is not, we think it's good. We know there are some challenges. This school has reached out. This school has reached out. The high school principal reaches out every day. We always get updates from him about what's going on at the school. Mr. Oaktie, I just got a text message about something that's going on with the band. But that's from the top. The leadership from the top is the concern. The leadership is public relations, and then holding everyone accountable to the same rules. That's where the disconnect is that I see. That's a challenge that I see. And once again, how would I address that challenge? Conversation, holding people accountable for their actions and their words.
Sure. I think for the final thought in this, I'll just throw this out there is I guess I disagree with you. I think there was a lot of opportunities and even videos done, but at the same time, we can always do better, right? And you've already admitted that this is a weird instance. And I think that if we had to do this, God forbid, another year, that we should have some sort of roundtable to walk forward. But I think for the time frame for everybody to do this was just utterly amazing, from superintendent all the way down to IT and principals and teachers, students and parents. So that's
Ingenuity is just one example. I mean, leadership, public relations, how you speak to people, how you treat one person, how you treat another, that permeates throughout the entire district. So absolutely. That was just one. Ingenuity is just one caveat. There are several others. And
I think I know which instance you're speaking about. So let's see. That was, we're on number 4. This is a John question for Felicia. What do you believe are the most important characteristics of an effective school board and an effective school board member?
The school board is to have a vision, and the school board is to help put that vision into reality. Kennedale is a district of innovation. So how are we being innovative? How does the board work together? How does the board disagree and still work together? I always say that if everybody in the room says yes, someone's not thinking. There should be someone in the room to say, that's not a good idea. I always use this one because to me, it just speaks volumes. We went to a conference and there were thousands of people in the room. And they decided to have two buffets for thousands of people. And I said, it's not the person who had the idea. It's everyone else who sat there and said, that's great. It's not that one person. It's not that one idea. So the board has to, in my opinion, an effective board has dialogue that goes back and forth. An effective board challenges the status quo. An efficient and effective board says, this is our vision, this is what we're going to work for, these are our plans to get there, that's shared with the community. The community has opportunities to give input, a variety of different ways for the community to have input and let their position be known. An effective school board member is honest. An effective school board member has integrity. An effective school board member is collaborative, but not always saying yes to everything. you have to have the ability to say, I disagree, but we're going to work together for the children of the district. So I may lose this vote. I may vote no on something that everybody else is in agreements, and I'm okay with that because I'm going to stand on what I believe is best for the group. Another thing, I think the school board, an effective school board member, especially in our district, is one that will represent the residents of Arlington and the residents of Kennedale. It's one Kennedale ISD. And as I said last year, we're stronger together. We're a diverse city, two cities. We have diverse thinking, but we are one ISD. So if something positive is happening on one campus, the positive should be championed on the other campus. It shouldn't be one side against the other. And that's what I found when I was out campaigning. A little naive, I would think I was, because I didn't know that was going on. I didn't know that parents felt if they're new to Kennedale, their voice is not listened to as much as if they were born and raised in Kennedale. I wasn't born and raised in Kennedale. I was born in Texas, but I was raised somewhere else and came back as soon as I could. But the diversity needs to be celebrated. And I think the diversity of the board and different opinions needs to be celebrated. So that is an effective board member. First of all, has got to be honest. You have to have some integrity. Second, you've got to be a positive force in the community. People need to know that you're going to stand for what's right for their children and you're going to protect their children. We send our babies, all of us have kids. We send our babies to you. They send them to us. They need to know that we're going to do, at the end of the day, you and I may not agree, but we're going to do what's best for the children. And the children will be well.
Absolutely. John?
Well, you know, I think that, I guess I didn't realize I'd ask myself a quick, the hallmark of an effective board is a board that recognizes its role as governance and not management. And that's really hard because you see cool things that you can do, you know, on a classroom level or on a campus level. And, you know, before you know it, you've got yourself down on a management level of thinking. And so, you know, you want to stay up, you know, the board should stay up where on the governance and oversight level as much as possible. And for a good board member should, you know, certainly do his own research and stick to whatever opinion the facts bear out for him or her on whatever they're deliberating. But as well, the board member, number one, needs to recognize the totality of a board member's authority is 1/7 of a vote. Mm-hmm. That's the totality of your authority. You don't you can't go to a campus and act like that you're out there going to make something happen.
Sure.
It makes no difference. Certainly, you know, and for me, I know I can speak from, you know, if you hold a position as vice president or president or whatever, it makes no difference. I'm still just 1/7 of a vote. You know, unless there's board action, there's nothing going to happen. You know, the whole board has to vote on it and come to a decision. And so, you know, recognizing that, it'll make you step back. And you know, after serving as long as I have, I really recognize that I have to step back a lot and recognize, okay, you know, I can certainly have discussions with Chad and about concerns and about ideas, but you know, it's up to them to bring those to us in the agenda, and then for us to deliberate on what they want to do on the management side and on the interaction side, and that's as it should be. It's as it should be. I'm not a professional educator. You know, I've served in a lot of leadership roles, but I'm not a professional educator. They are, and I trust that they sit down and have deliberated things out. And I may have questions, but you know, I want them to take care of, communication flaws or whatever it is. So that's did I answer it?
Yeah, you got it. Well, my reply back to both of you is, and I've always kind of said this, that I agree with the micromanaging. It's not our roles, even the elected or appointed. That's not your role. That's not your job. You're the lead, and democracies or even any government is best when they're not in the way, basically. And any leadership or any role should always be fostering how can we benefit or how can we get government out of the way to benefit and move forward. And as if I'm sure you'll see the mayor's thing that, like he says, he doesn't think, and I agree, nobody ever goes into this thinking, money or power or anything, but to serve and help their community. On the flip side, my final comment on that is I've always said it's healthy on an assemblies, council, KISD, school board, whatever, to have a healthy balance of liberals and conservatives. First of all, liberals and conservatives, that whole idea is for local governments. But you need to have liberals to remind conservatives when it's time to spend, and you need conservatives to remind liberals when it's time to save, because it always comes down to money when it comes to that. So those are my thoughts on that. So the next question was the one that was submitted by a reader, and her question was, what's your stance on masks? Since the school district just changed that just 2 days ago from today, this recording, and this question was submitted before that, that's what kind of twisted that. Everybody is wearing masks now. That's what we're doing because the increase, the football team at junior high, there was an outbreak there. There was a couple outbreaks in Delaney. I got a couple of emails there. I'm not sure about the high school, nor Patterson, but I know, or Arthur, but I know you can go to the website and get all these numbers if you're interested. So the mask is there. Doesn't matter the age. They have to wear it all day. It doesn't matter if they're 6 feet apart. How do you guys feel like that? I'll just twist the question to that. And since we did Felicia first, we'll do John first on this one.
Okay.
Well, personally, I hate wearing a mask, but I do wear one. I wear one at work every day. And I know that it's difficult. It's got to be difficult to keep students wearing masks. I really feel for the people on the campuses that would have to enforce that. It's got to be difficult. But I certainly, the mask, I always have to trigger everybody I talk to, the mask is not for my safety.
Yes.
My mask is for your safety.
Yes, keep reminding people of that too. I've been doing the same thing. It looks like Felicia's been doing the same thing. Keep reminding people of that. Right. It's not going to prevent you from getting it. You're still probably going to get COVID.
Right.
It's to help us.
Right. And so from that perspective, I always encourage people to consider others before themselves and just be courteous. Wearing a mask is my courtesy to the people around me. It's not me protecting myself from COVID. And so from that perspective, I think it's a good teaching opportunity for our kids, to consider the people around you, be considerate of their concerns, whether they're, there's the people who are really germophobic to the people who think that they can get through anything and don't have to worry about anything. But wherever you are in that spectrum, just wear the mask and be considerate. And so, that's the current guidance. And I don't know. I'm sure a decade from now, the data will be different than it is right now. But I think it's an easy step. And as long as we can, if kids can get them and we can provide as many as we can, let's do it,
And just so everybody knows, as the day of this recording, the Tarrant County Health Department has recommended all the schools go ahead and shut down. So the concern, like you said, it's a natural first step, and because it could be getting worse and where we have to shut down and do this all over again, guys, where our kids are home and when we're doing this, all the parents are doing that. So Felicia, I'll give you your time to respond to that. How do you feel about the current?
Yes, I agree this week, Mr. Hunt and I agree. Wear the mask. I was a proponent of the masks from the very beginning. And I was a proponent of the masks for the teachers. Of course, I want my child to be healthy and I want him to be safe. But the teachers and administrators have a lot of children to deal with. You're looking at 500 kids, more at the high school. And the commercial used to be this person, and there were 2 people, and then there were 4, and then it multiplied and multiplied. That's the same thing with the contact.
Mhm.
As Mr. Hunt said, the mask is, you wear your mask, I'll wear my mask, we'll help protect each other.
Yeah.
But I've always been a proponent. When they finally said, you know, the mask will help, wear the mask for the teachers. And as I explained to my son before I knew that the mask was not mandated, wear your mask. It's going to help you. Is it going to be difficult to wear your mask all day? Yes.
Yeah.
Is it difficult for me to wear my mask all day? Yes. Do I take mask breaks? Yes, I do. I will go somewhere by myself and all far end of the playground, far end of the field, and I will breathe.
2020.
Just
No more
to
cigarette breaks. That's out. Cigarette breaks
Yes,
are out.
but
Mask breaks are out.
the mask is, it's necessary. And like he said, if you don't think it's necessary for you, think of your child's teacher.
Sure.
Think of your child's principal. God forbid the principal, I mean, they've got a great team at each campus, but the principal is the instructional leader of the campus. If the principal, as the instructional leader of the campus, is out for 14 days,
Right.
the principal's not there. So please wear your mask. Please ask your children to wear their masks. Pre-Kers, you know, it's difficult. Kindergartners, it's difficult. They take the mask off. You get to take your mask off to eat lunch. You run around on the playground, you know, you can see them. They'll take a quick breath, put it back on and go. But the mask, it's a important aspect of us helping to protect our staff, protect our children, and just protect the people that are around us. You never know if you're asymptomatic. And if you sneeze, being asymptomatic, your droplets are in the air and it's the same thing with the flu and strep throat.
Absolutely.
You may be immune to it, but I might catch it. So the mask helps to bring it down. Does it take it away? No. Is COVID going away? Probably not. But it will help manage it to where we don't have to shut down. And that's what I tell my son, you like being at home with me? No, ma'am. All right, then. Protect yourself, protect your teachers, because trust me, the work that I'm going to have you do is going to be much more difficult than anything that they're going to have you do at the school. You like going to school? I love you going to school. Wear your mask so that we don't have to shut the schools down. And I know when I heard that this morning on the news as to what he was recommending, I was like, no, we don't want to do that. We're prepared. We're putting plans in place. I know the teachers are prepared because they've started the school year off on a very positive note, but we want children to be in school.
And I mean, I always thought the law, the way the governor wrote it, and Judge Whitley, although it was, hashtag liberty, I'm going to be a very outspoken person on my personal law on the things that they did. But when you read the law, I thought it was very fair. They tried to walk that line to where let's do enough to protect everybody, but at the same time, we don't want to, put too many restrictions on people and handcuff people. I always thought it was extremely fair the way they wrote it and kind of the scapegoats that kind of people do it, but really just fell on to businesses. Now, for me, I think where I draw a line, it's not necessarily with schools. Like when we go to the football games, you all take a temperature. I'm okay with that. But when I have to exchange money for goods and service and give my temperature, that's where I've been kind of drawing the line. So to get a haircut, to give you my temperature, give up my HIPAA compliance, and give you money. And last time I checked for a haircut, I just need money. So that's kind of where I've been drawing the line with it too. But as you said, it helps flatten the curve. Is it going to protect you 100%? No, it's not. And it's not going to protect everybody around you 100%, but it just helps, kind of lessen that blow and help prevent. But hands down, wash your hands, right? We can all agree.
Exactly.
Wash your hands.
Keep your hands out of your face and wash your hands.
And I'm sure you can go back and watch this video. I'll probably touch my face or my head probably 20 times without even know it. And that's how simple it is, guys. It's just how simple it is. So wear your mask. Yes. All right. Okay, we'll see. I'll go ahead and do a John question to Felicia since we just kind of threw a kink in that. And that's what skills or traits will allow you to contribute to an effective operations of the board as a whole?
As a whole, first of all, I'm very organized. And he mentioned doing your research and being prepared. That I am very organized and I'm very prepared. I'm an educator. I love children. I love working with children. I've always enjoyed tutoring and just being an advocate for children. Special education is my background, so like rooting for the underdog, that's where my heart is. So I know I'll be an effective board member because I have a passion for making sure that the children are safe. Educator, I'm honest. I'm committed to public school education. I have the best of both worlds. I was a product of private schools, but I work in public schools. And because I have both of those worlds, I feel that I'm able to bring that experience to a larger body. I am an objective decision maker. And I alluded to that before. The facts are the facts. This is where we are. I don't do the blame game, but these are the challenges that present ourselves. What are we going to do to make this situation better? How are we going to attack bullying, be it from an adult to a child, from a child to an adult, or from child to child? How are we going to make sure that our students are safe? These are the numbers. It's occurring at this campus. It's occurring. What systems do we need to put in place to combat that? I'm very systems organized. Evaluating. One of my favorite job in education was to be an auditor and being able to go in and say, tell me about your school, observe the school, observe the system, and just offer suggestions. This is where we are. These are the facts. How are we going to combat this? What can we put in place to combat whatever the problem is? And I'm collaborative. I've worked with very challenging people. As I said, at the end of the day, the bottom line is, are the children well? Are we doing what we need to do to make sure that our children become positive, productive, well-rounded citizens? Are we addressing their needs? And that is why I am a qualified person to be on the board. That is what I bring to my skills and talents that I bring to the table.
So I could tell that both of you are very organized by your backgrounds, and you have a calendar, Felicia and John. I mean, your bookshelf, God, come over and do my bookshelf for me, please. But besides organization, John, what can you bring to the board overall, or have in your case?
I mean, the reason I'm running again is perspective. You know, with Mr. Ham leaving the board, me leaving the board at the same time would really cut down on the level of perspective on the board. I think it's important. I mean, there's you know, Solomon, nothing's new underneath the sky. It's really true that how many things come up that, yeah, we've addressed something just like this, you know, 4 years ago. You know, not the same people, maybe not the same exact complaint, but we did address it, and it just gives you perspective, you know, and allows you to be a little bit more circumspect in your response. And, you know, that to me is real important, and I think Felicia is very intellectual and would be able to think about things. But I can tell you from my experience that it took me, I don't think I said hardly a word for a year, because I was just trying to take it in and understand, you know, other than ask questions, because it's a lot to get under your belt and to understand and to figure out exactly what is your role, because, you know, you have all these great ideas and things come to mind, but you recognize that's not my place there. My place is governance here. And so I need to step back and, you know, just listen and then vote when the time comes to vote, however I'm convicted. And it just takes some time to do that. You know, I've gone through a lot of votes. It's really hard. You know, the whole perspective. You know, one thing that really helped me understand board service is a person told me, he said, you need to recognize, John, that School board meetings are not public meetings. They are meetings held in the public, which is really a difference.
It's a big difference.
You are having a meeting in the public, but you're not even supposed to at all engage.
You are not.
People in the gallery.
That is,
Public comments when they speak to you. You want to engage with them, but you can't, other than to ask a clarifying question about something they said. You're doing your business there. It's like actors up on a stage, and everybody's watching you, and that's hard to get used to, because if you're like me, someone asks me a question, I want to answer the question. I want to talk to them about it, but HIPAA, FERPA, all that kind of stuff. No, you can't do that, John. You gotta stay engaged in the meeting. And,
Yeah.
That's one thing that
he's so right about that. When I came to a meeting and I was shocked, because like he said, the board is discussing it's the business in front of people. So when a question came from the board to the audience, I said, that's interesting. I've never seen that happen before. And I'm not speaking of the recent incidents that's going on with the phone and all that. I'm not talking about that. This was something that happened before.
Okay.
So he's right. The board, they're doing business in front of the public, and the public comments, the public is there to voice their opinion. They're letting you know, these are the things, this is what we're saying. But the board should be monitoring those patterns and trends. So if you can continuously get something on safety on the campus, which the board has done in the past, safety on the campus, anybody's able to walk in. Well, no, now you have to have your ID, you have to be buzzed in. There should be background checks on everybody that comes into the building. Those are the types of things that the board discusses, but there's a collaboration, there's a communication, there's conversation in front of other people. So it's interesting that he brought that up, because when I went to, like I said, I went to the meeting and that occurred, I said, you're not supposed to talk to me. You're not supposed to say, I'm here watching you. I'm getting insight as to what's going on, but you're not supposed to ask me any questions.
Right.
I know for me that I'm on two completely different boards for myself. One is the Parks Board, which I'm vice chair on, and it's a little bit more, obviously more relaxed. It's not like we even have one person show up to the Parks Board usually, but when they do, they usually are speaking, or they're there like KYA or somebody. So we kind of have that open dialogue. But as the chairman of the Building Board of Appeals and the BOA, I'm way more strict about that. It's more of a courtroom scenario, and you're allotted that time where we discuss. But so yeah, I think that you made a great point, John, that it's not really for the public, but it is for the public.
Right, it's for us.
Yeah, exactly. So
you're conducting business.
A great point. Okay, two more, guys. I know it's been long already, and I appreciate your time. Two more. So this one is for Felicia, and this is the last one between you two. How do you plan to unite the district and encourage residents to continue to enroll or re-enroll their students in KISD? And this is for you, John.
For me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'm a champion of public education too. I really believe in it, and I would consider myself, not to get egg in my house or anything, but I would consider myself a conservative. But I'm a big fan of public education, because I just don't think you can do the math without ending up that you need to have a public education system that's going to catch everybody, because vouchers, all those other things, in the end, it's going to end up with, there's going to be a subset that are going to be left behind, and you need public education. So I think all children should be educated in public education. My brothers have sent kids to private school, but all of my kids, we're big fans of public education. Of course, my wife works in public education. But I've gone to some seminars, because if you listen to the media, there is a constant assault on public education. They do everything bad. They misuse their money. They're all crooked. It's bloated. People are inundated that public education stinks. Well, we don't stink. because, you know, they say the 8th graders in China beat our 8th graders. Well, you know, so what? The real crucible here is look at what our 25-year-olds do versus what their 25-year-olds do. Our 25-year-olds are 100-fold more successful than Chinese 25-year-olds. And that's the real crucible, isn't it? You know, that they were educated in the public education system and then went on to be very successful as adults. And that to me makes me a big fan and believer. And the hard thing, you know, like I spoke earlier about teachers not recruiting teachers, and the number one driving force for student success and parent engagement is hope and engagement. You know, if a student is hopeful and engaged, he will be successful in the classroom. You know, we can talk about ingenuity, or they'll overcome a mountain of obstacles if they're hopeful and engaged and be successful. And the key, you know, Gallup has done polls on this, and the one thing that Gallup came up with is, you know, I asked the guy when he was saying this, that is the determining factor of success in schools is hope and engagement. I said, well, you know, what's driving that? And he said, what drives that is the level of hope and engagement of your teaching staff. And so, you know, to me, that is, if we want to unite, if we want to bring together our district, let's make our staff hopeful and engaged in being Kennedale Wildcats. If they're hopeful and engaged in that, then that's going to go to our children, and our children are going to take that home to their parents, and we're going to be successful. And that's going to ebb and flow. You know, we all know that. We're going through a hard time right now. There's so many distractions, so many things that can steal your hope and disengage you from what's important, or doing the stuff that you should be doing in school. But if we can reignite that, or keep that ignited in our students, and starting with keeping that ignited in our teachers, then we're going to be successful, and our district will be united, and we don't have to worry about enrollment. You know, of course, I love being a 4A. You know, I don't want to enroll more than a 4A, because that's one of the big things. I love the fact that my kids did sports, they did band, they did choir. You know, they did everything they wanted to do across the board, because we're a district that's small enough that they can do that here. You know, we were in Arlington, and the reason we came to Kennedale is because they were making my kids choose as freshmen. Coming into high school, they had to choose. You're going to be straight baseball, or you're going to be straight football, or you're going to be straight band. No, I wanted my kids to be in band. I wanted them to be in choir. I wanted them to be basketball, volleyball, you know, everything that they could do. And so we moved over here to Kennedale. We found it over here playing baseball one night, and thankful that we did. And so, again, to answer the question, hope and engagement. You know, that's how we unite people. We ignite hope and engagement.
Okay. Felicia?
Hope and engagement is very important, and retention of teachers is important as well. Our teachers are great. We, as I said before, we invest a lot in professional development. We need to, one way to unite the district is to make sure that they stay with us and that they are able to move throughout the different levels. If one of the teachers eventually becomes the principal then in turn, same person, then in turn becomes a central office administrator. That person then can bring in other people, and that the child will say, that was my teacher. She was my kindergarten teacher. She was my middle school teacher. She was my high school principal, or he. That lets people know that this is a district where you want to be. This is a district where you want to stay. Parents have rights. They have choices. They have options. Marketing our district, having positive leadership in the district, is how we're going to maintain attendance and then get some of the people that have chosen, according to their background, their experience, to leave. If your child is not feeling safe, we want to make sure that that's put at ease. So then you will come back to the district, or you'll stay in the district. COVID, we can't control that.
Yeah.
Now there's no one that can control COVID. But because,
Not on this earth.
like in-person learning, you like virtual learning, you might leave because of those things. But things that we can control, how we talk to each other, how we talk to our children, how we talk to our parents. These are the things that when I was out campaigning and am out campaigning, these are the things that have been brought to my attention. And we can control all of that. We can have not just the band, not just the football team, not just the soccer team, but archery, the drill team. All of those things are positive aspects to the district. Academics, strong academics, rigorous environment for our students. Those are all ways to keep our parents in Kennedale ISD, and then bring some of the ones who have chosen to go to the various charter schools or private parochial schools. They'll be, okay, so things are changing, things have changed. My voice is valued, my voice is heard, I can participate. I don't have to be a resident that's been here for 20 years. I can be a new resident, or I can be a 20-year resident, and my voice still matters. And that's how we get people back to the district. And that's how we get those of us that are staying and that are committed to be here for the long haul. That's how you keep us in the district.
Yeah, I think that especially in our district, in KISD, that why we're so effective and why our students are so successful. I mean, my Interact president from last year won the big grand prize Chick-fil-A $25,000 scholarship. It was one of 10 students to do that. And we have so many success stories with our seniors and juniors in the high school level and junior high and et cetera. I think one of the biggest reasons is because, small community. We know the teachers. The teachers know the other teachers above them and the teachers above them. Even in our sports, we kind of have that drawing. But moreover, what makes us very competitive with charter schools and private schools is all the things that we offer, especially on the high school level, that are beyond just the classroom. Yeah, yes, we have honors programs, and yes, we do have great college prep courses and things like that. But we also have a police program. We also have a business school up there. We have a print school up there. We have all these technical things to kind of pump out different kind of adults who are going to be taxpayers one day. They don't always all have to go to school. Some of them can do other things, and some of them were just born to do different things. And so it's great to have not only the arts and have that kind of backing within the school system, and the music and the football and all the clubs and all the different programs that we offer. It's just good that we have options and that we're not just going to school and doing the 9 to 5. And a little more farther up, I think you had mentioned, John, how China beats us in math, and I hear that all the time. I forget which educator I said this, but it really changed my perspective. And his point was, it's important for somebody in China or India that their children excel in math. Not necessarily important in the United States. We have different priorities, and each country excels in what is important in their society. Japan's very important with IT and math. India is math and computers, and the United States is entrepreneurism. Really, is what it comes down to. It's money is what drives us. So, and that's where I think people don't really realize is, when it's cool to be that math kid and you're in your whole community. That's what the drive is, and that's what the difference is sometimes. But great points for both of you guys. And last question. All right. So we've kind of discussed this a little bit. This is my question I proposed to the other two. And I'm not saying that there's an issue, but COVID-19, we did the 1-for-1 computers, and we talked for that. That money came from somewhere. There's also concern in the city and the state side about people not being able to pay their taxes. That's the scare tactic in politicians' mouths currently right now. Is everybody going to be able to pay their taxes next year? Are we going to get the full amount that we're supposed to, or we're budgeting? Excuse me. Do you think, or do you have any concerns here? Do you think, I know we just reduced taxes last month, and that's great, and property values are going up, and we had some expenditures. Do you think that we're going to have a budget crisis? Do you think it's going to be grand, small? Just kind of your thoughts moving into next season, next year. If one of you all elected, you're going to have to deal with it. So let's see, we were on Felicia first. So John, why don't you answer this question first?
Well, you know, the 6.5 billion, you know, that was funded for 2 years. So we may be saddled with all those raises for the teachers
Yes.
at the end of this term, you know, which we couldn't budget for. Yeah, I think that state funding and budgeting will definitely be a problem every year, you know, because they ask us to do more with less every year, and they mandate the level of unfunded mandates from the state increases every year. You know, I think the A through F rating is just a trap for them to beat up on us with, really, because if you look at it, there's very, very little that you can do to influence the A through F rating. It's really, really, you can game the system, and you know, I always encourage our campus leaders, you know, say, well, do what you can to maintain our A through F rating. You know, we want to keep that up. We want to stay high for real estate values, for our taxpayers, you know, for everything like that. But the reality is that you know, the state wants to use that as a tool to beat up on us, and it's unfortunate to me. And I even told the state commissioner that when he was bragging about the money he was giving us, that you know that this is a trap, and the level of that money that's coming into, you know, right here in Tarrant County, Kennedale, is minuscule compared to what's going down south in the valley and to other areas of the state. And so, yeah, and whether or not COVID will be the driving factor, you know, we've been able to address the COVID things within our budget. And, you know, we're moving forward with the one-to-one. You know, I've been laughing. You guys maybe get a kick out of this, but I think that we should write a book on the excuses for why the computers don't work anymore. They're saying it's hilarious when you hear some of the stuff they send in about, you know, I just, you know, I fell asleep and my computer broke, you know, or whatever it is. I think that there's so much to write a book about that, because there's going to be a million of them for why the online stuff, you know, breaks down and doesn't work sometimes. So I'm hopeful that won't be a driving force in what we do for it. I really do want us to come back together physically as soon as we possibly can. I'm hoping that we can get past this COVID stuff and get back to business as usual in public education. But
so one quick follow-up before I let Felicia answer. The TEA just 3 months ago was, you know, threatening school districts if they didn't follow their rules, they weren't going to give them money. And and I believe Stephenville and Louisville banded together one other school district to sue them. Do you think the TEA will be a problem moving forward, or be an obstacle?
Is TEA an obstacle? Well, you know,
that wasn't rhetorical, by the way. You have to answer the question.
it's you know, I don't know if they will or not. I think that in the end, public education is something that people will be reasonable about and will ensure that we keep the system going, at least for now. Whether or not the TEA is going to threaten us with funding, you know, I'm not sure that the governor would put up with that.
I don't think so.
And you know, it doesn't seem so from his guidance so far that he's going to put up with them, you know, being the controlling factor for what we do in education. So, you know, I think like we have so far, you know, let's try and stick with his guidance and or whoever the governor is, and hope that they'll protect us and keep, you know, Texas public education is amongst the tops. It's good. I moved around the country, and I was always at least a book ahead wherever we moved, and so I was proud of that. Whenever I leave Texas, I was a book ahead. But I'm not sure whether or not COVID is going to create more funding issues for us. But you know, bottom line is we're going to educate every child that's sent to us, and we'll make the money work. You know. that's and of course 80% of our budget is staff. So that's when you talk about budgeting, it's people. So.
Yeah, that's everybody's budget. Okay, Felicia, I'll give you a chance. I know you're on the outside in looking for this, but I know you've been very astute the last couple of years about KISD. So go ahead.
So first is to address his comment with TEA. TEA is an entity, but it's also an entity that we as residents, you mentioned the 2 school districts that join forces together to challenge some of the things that they want us to do. We all have that opportunity. When people fuss about STAR or TELPAS or bilingual ESL education or special ed, your senators and your congresspeople work for you. Mm-hmm. It is our responsibility to hold their feet to the fire to influence what happens at the state level. So there is a force of people who are band together to push for vouchers and taking their tax dollars and funding their particular schools. We can combat that. If we come together, we can address our elected officials to say that's not what we want. So does TEA have a lot of power? Yes. Do they have all power? No. So if we come together, there's some things that we can influence them to make different decisions. So I always tell people, vote, talk to your congressperson, call them several times. There are people that they listen to right away because they're always on the phone with them. Then there are people that they just write their comment down because they know they're only going to hear from them once. So that's my perspective on that. The budget will be always an area of concern. Household budgets are concerning. So of course, a district's budget is concerning. The comment was you have to do more with less. There are always mandates that are coming down. There are always things that you have to do. PPEs, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, we would not have been sitting here talking about, they need masks. We need to wipe down the classrooms. Lysol is going to be scarce. You need Clorox wipes. But these are things that now we're going to have to budget for. Stipends to keep teachers, stipends to keep coaches. He's already said 80% goes towards salaries and goes towards people. Well, people are very important. We need them to be here and we need them to be competitive. We want to attract the top talent to make sure that our students receive the top quality, rigorous education that they deserve. So is it going to be the top of discussion in the meetings? Yes, because we want to make sure that our tax dollars are being spent wisely and in the correct manner. This also goes to why we need to make sure that the students that we have, we keep, because we get funds for attendance. So if we can make sure that they're logging in on their Chromebooks or pads or whatever tablet device that they're using, we need that money. The district needs that money. If we're sending them to school, we need your child to be in school every day, unless they're sick. If they're sick, they can log on virtually. They're still counted for attendance. So I know the concern was that we grow too big, but with attendance comes financial assistance because we get money for that. So coming together, addressing the budget, that might be one of those long meetings or a series of long meetings, because you have short-term goals and long-term goals. Same thing with the playground. We can't afford that right now, but we can, down the road, that's something that we can set money aside yearly to make sure that it happens.
Sure. And it's interesting you brought up the testing and things like that. So, I mean, since TOS test, which is when I was in elementary, junior high around here, the things on everybody's mouth was these are worthless. Yet 20 years later, as a father, I'm having to deal with it. So I think it's important that if everybody agrees, and this is what everybody's saying all across Texas, what's the problem? So I kind of like your point like that. But I'll give you guys each, excuse me, that Cottonwood's just killing me this week. I'll give out you guys a final say. Felicia, we'll start with you. Just your final comments.
Well, Kennedale residents, Arlington residents, Kennedale ISD members, my name is Felicia Moody. I am a candidate for the Kennedale ISD School Board. I'm excited to have the opportunity to participate in the process. I am knowledgeable. I am honest. I have integrity. I will do my best to represent you as a member of the Kennedale ISD School Board. I'm a wife. I am a mother. I am a member of the community. I'm an objective decision maker. I have the ability to listen to both sides of the coin before making a decision, which will, as I said, always be in the best interest of the children. Everything that I do in the realm of education is for the best interest of the students and the best interest of the children. I have a thick skin, so I don't take things personally. I'm able to keep focus on what it is that we need to do to move our school district forward and to embrace the concept of Kennedale being a school district of innovation. So vote for Felicia Moody for Kennedale ISD School Board.
And go ahead and plug any social media websites you have as well.
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Felicia Moody for Kennedale ISD School Board, Felicia Moody, _4@gmail.com.
Great.
I'm a regular citizen, so I'm very approachable.
Okay. And John, your final thoughts?
Well, I think that it's important that they know that it's, you know, it's not about me, that I'm not running to hold on to anything. It's just that I think that the experience and stability on a board is important. We're definitely losing Sean, the things I bring to the board are going to be the experience over time. There are a lot of things with the changeover in superintendent, and even before he left, they were put in place that are not finished yet. That the board has worked a lot on changing the superintendent's evaluation from just a pass-fail to a formative evaluation. You know, that was gut-wrenching hard work, but I think it's been productive work. But we've just started to where that needs to be finished, and I want to finish that. The changing that we're going to have coming up here soon, the board will have the advantage of having a dashboard that will give them some mapping data that will show the effectiveness of our schools and how our children are progressing. And I want to see that come to fruition. That's been a long-term goal that we've been working for, and it's just now starting to come up and get to where it's going to flower. You know, I want to see that happen and make sure that gets carried through. I hope that each of you, that my friends and people that I've worked with and served alongside with, will get out and vote for me again. And if you need to get a sign, you can go on my website, which is voteforjohnhunt.com, or you can go on my Facebook page. I can't remember what it is, but it's John Hunt for Kennedale School Board or something like that. And please look on there and contact me. But get out and vote no matter what.
Absolutely.
I'm sure that all of us have a lot of angst about this election cycle, but if you don't get out and vote, then you need not worry.
Absolutely.
So thanks, Jeff, for having us tonight. I appreciate the opportunity.
And thank you about
I would like to piggyback on one thing that Mr. Hunt said. Scroll down to the bottom of your ballot. Don't just stop at the top. Vote for the entire ballot. If you vote for me, if you vote for Mr. Hunt, like he said, vote, but please make sure you scroll down to get to your local representatives.
Well, I want to thank you both for doing this with me. I really do appreciate you spending your time with me. I know it's a little long. It definitely is the longest one I've done yet, but I blame you two for bringing such great questions to the floor. So you can only shoot yourself in the foot on that one. So, but I know, just as a voter, that on the KISD side, as far as elections this year, that like no matter how it goes down, we just have great representation across the board, and I'm extremely happy and confident in my children's future in KISD. So I know, and like you said, it's all up to you guys out there in the audience, and I appreciate everybody sticking around. If you are watching this YouTube, just look right below you and hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, so that way you're alerted when we upload a new video. And we'll see you at the polls.
Thank you. Good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.